How's everybody doing this fine Boxing Day out there? I got my Hamilton Ticats cap ready to cover up this beautiful head of hair here that I call the reverse mullet. Bald on top, party in the back. Woo! Alright, I'm in a good mood today. My name's Randy Young. I'm president of the Great Canadian Buildup Incorporated and our sister organization, the Canadian Construction Battalion, the CCB. I have some great news today. I wanted to get a video out here on Boxing Day. You know, Boxing Day was originally about boxing up the things you didn't want and maybe some gifts that you bought and put into a box and you give it away to the poor. That's what Boxing Day was, not a feeding frenzy at the Walmart. Meant different things in the past, like many things do, I guess. So yeah, some great news today. Got the website up. It's under teambuildup.ca. We'll have all the other domains, the Great Canadian Buildup and the Canadian Construction Battalion Incorporated.ca pointed at this site. But there's a little glitch with the transferring of the domain names and all that, so we just used one of our original domain names that we had set up for Team Buildup. Teambuildup.ca, you check that out, and you'll be able to read all about what we're up to. We've got our commitment to freedom is our motto at the top of the page. And the Great Canadian Buildup Inc. is a for-profit organization. It's a job for us. But it's something that's needed and it has to be done. You know, we're not out to make $1 million bucks like I've said before. We're out to, you know, put a few bucks in the bank for retirement and you know, we have pensions and stuff like that, so we don't have to make a lot of money. But it'd be nice to put a little bit away for all the work we're going to do to help solve the housing crisis in Canada. But most of all, the reward is going to be in the training up of our teammates. As I've mentioned before, instead of teachers, we have coaches in our sports management method. The method I call it, sports management method for teaching, where, you know, it's more of a team atmosphere where we have huddles and meetings and strategy sessions, and our coaches that'll be involved have been either playing or coaching, you know, baseball, football, soccer, boxing even. And, you know, no, we're not going to be practicing any of those things on site, but, you know, that's the background of some of our coaches. And each one of them will have an extensive past in the construction industry in this area, along with all the connections that they know and have, as I do. That's one of the benefits of becoming a teammate. You're going to have the opportunity to be involved in people in the industry. These aren't, you know, professors or anything that, you know, what's the old saying, you know, if you can't do it, teach or something. And I don't agree with that, because a lot of teachers have been real big influences in my life. Like Mr. Ralph in grade 5, he was great. Or excuse me, grade 7 he was. Mr. McLeod was grade 5. I remember it was one of my first jokes I ever told in front of the class. You know, Mr. McLeod, he's so tough he reigns over us. I was 10 years old. I miss my calling, what can I say? And, okay, so on the website you'll see our media release that goes out to all the, you know, the big 3 networks in Canada and internationally as well. We're getting text from Sweden and comments from Sweden and England, France. And I don't speak French, unfortunately. I am Canadian and I did take French in school, but you know, luckily there's a translator on the comments section. And if you don't mind, you know, like and comment. They all say this, but now I understand why. All the podcasters out there say that, and I understand why. You know, and that big emphasis is, you know, the media release, you know, really does what it says it's to do. You know, it explains everything that we're doing. And as the main line at the bottom is that you can join us at the home show at was it 24th and 26th, or 24th to 26th? Where is it? There we are. Our booth is 1010, and you can get information about the CCB at the Lifestyles Home Show, January 23rd to 25th, 2026, at the JR Expo Center at the Western Fair District, London. And we'll be across from the bathrooms at the north end of the building, because we're old. We need to be close to that bathroom, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm in a good mood today. Like getting that website up and done. I did it myself. I had a young fella who's going to help me polish it up tomorrow or the next day, but he was supposed to be over today, but the ice storm stopped it. And I've done small websites before, and I think this turned out pretty good. Check it out at teambuildup.ca. You know, I want to emphasize that the Great Canadian Buildup is a for-profit business. You know, like, we're not out to make $1 million or anything, but you know, I have a pension or two, but you know, I'd like to be able to put some money in the bank for my retirement. And like I said, we don't want to be millionaires here. Like, all of our coaches are all, you know, well-to-do contractors for the most part. But you know, they have expenses and things they have to do too, like, you know. But nobody's out to make $1 million is what I'm saying. The students that, you know, they're charged $3,500 for the 30-day tryout. I know that seems like a lot of money, but once you start adding up utilities and rental costs and leases and tools, you know, the coaches, you know, the staff, office staff, it adds up to, you know, it costs that much pretty well for, you know, to run this thing. You know, it's not going to be cheap, but the results are going to show results. There's no doubt about it. You know, out of the 10 we have for the morning class and the afternoon class that flip, you know, throughout the day, the morning class will be safety, instruction, and the building code, especially about these ARUs. That the building codes have changed in Ontario, and especially I know about around the London area, and become an expert. I'm becoming an expert on the different things you have to be able to build an income dwelling in your backyard for you know, this new law that's out there. They're called ARUs. Okay, so you know, you check out the website. It kind of really explains everything. Well, it doesn't kind of, it does. Explains everything and breaks it down into two groups with the Canadian, or the Great Canadian Buildup, and also the Canadian Construction Battalion. The CCB is a non-profit incorporation designed to give baby boomers and Gen Xers a chance to use their builder's experience to help Canadians in case of invasion or battle damage caused by countries unfriendly to Canada. Larger building contractors and companies need it as well. I need all you guys and gals out there that own these big companies to get involved in this. You know, to either take on the teammates that we approve after the 30 days on a work kind of basis. You know, we can talk about that. Maybe you want to sponsor a teammate or two. You know, the senior citizen man or woman sitting on their lazy boy at home wants to help change someone's life, really. You know, like with the connections we have and the training they're going to complete after 30 days, they can go and get a job after that, but we're offering them anyone that gets through that can be punctual, show they can be on time and not miss a day, and have hand-eye coordination, because construction work is a difficult, demanding job, and you got to have your head on a swivel. Like in football, when I played a linebacker position, and one of the coaches told me, keep your head on a swivel. Always be aware and always be looking. So I do that when I ride my motorcycle as well. You know, the life lessons these young people are going to learn now, as it did for me, are going to help them as they get older in life. So if you want to sponsor a teammate or 2 or 10, there's going to be some people that can't afford this that will have the capability, and the only thing holding them back is the funding. We only have a limited amount of seats, so we have to have each seat paid for, just to meet the expenses that's going to incur every month. You know, we will have an ARU or a granny suite, little tiny home at the end of each of these 30 days that we'll put up for sale, you know, just above cost, you know, including all the costs. Whatever we need is going to be, you know, it'll be darn close to cost for these units. And then of course you'll have installation, you know, of the unit itself, which we can help you with, but that all costs money as well. You know, it's not a fleeting matter. I mean, you could spend, you know, anywhere from, I don't know, like, I'm just off the top of my head, $75,000 to $100,000 to put an ARU in your backyard. But with rents, especially for a small little bachelor or 1-bedroom unit, you know, $1,600 to $2,000 somebody will pay for a little private home. I don't know, it's up to you, but you know, we could use the help with the sponsorship of students, because a lot of them, like I said, are not going to be able to afford it, but they have the ability, just they won't be able to afford it. And you know, you decide you're going to do that, you email me, tell me you want to become a donor, I'll call you personally, and we'll work out the details so you know that you know, your contribution is going to go to the right place. You know, you could do it privately, or I could introduce you to the teammate that you're helping out. It's up to you, it's up to them too. But, you know, we're going to be broadcasting this whole experience day by day. As a matter of fact, in the last 3 days I've done a video. I think I'm getting a little bit better. Leave in the comments. And I mean, my first one on Christmas Eve, I'm a little nervous. My voice is jumping around. And then on Christmas Day I did another one and seemed a little bit calmer. But today I feel good news today. So I'm feeling the energy of this thing. You know, it's this is going to change some people's lives, and I'm a part of it. When I was doing the gathering of veteran stories on videotape for the Friends of Veterans Canada, which was another charity that I ran, which was such a big headache. It was a great rewarding thing to have done, but it was a real hassle to do. What it cost me personally out of my pocket was surprising. Not only the hundreds of hours I put into it, but I did that anyway. I wasn't looking for money for that, but you know, once it got all added up, and then at the end with different things that were going on, you know, people get jealous out there of what you're doing and blah 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 blah. So that's why the Canadian Construction Battalion is an incorporated company. We'll just pay the taxes on donations that we bring in, because there'll be expenses going out. You know, every penny that we bring in, we're going to spend it. On building materials, we need stacks of plywood, stacks of 1/2-inch, 3/4-inch plywood. We need tons of 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, 2x10s, roofing materials, roof sheeting, windows, doors, you know. And we need experts at installation to volunteer for the the Canadian Construction Battalion, because we need you. The country needs you. And it's not like you're going to be out there every week working. We'll have once-a-month meetings, and there may be some dues or something involved, I don't know. But we have to raise money for all the different equipment we need. It's a costly thing. I mean, you're looking at, you know, $250 to $400 a square foot to build a house nowadays. So that's that. Now, to become a member, how to become a member? Just of the Canadian Construction Battalion, you must have the desire to help to rebuild and possibly defend Canada while on the reconstruction job sites in time of war. In other words, when we're on the job site and, say there's a battle going on close by, we may have to defend ourselves, and we will. You want to stick your hand in a hornet's nest, get you in the middle of a construction crew and see what happens. Yeah, give it a try, you'll see what happens. But, anybody from 45 to 90 years old is welcome to participate in this. We need all different professions, like we'll need medical staff. We need cooks to feed these people. This is a big undertaking with the Canadian Construction Battalion. So we need the volunteers, and we need volunteers with know-how in these little different things to pull this off. There'll be once a month meetings and probably an occasional drill, once a month as well, to make sure everybody's on the ball and, all our contact information is up to date. So when anything happens, just send out the bat symbol, and we'll get people to, react. Maybe we'll have a searchlight that passes in the sky like the old Western Fair used to have, those 4 spotlights. I'm dreaming here. But with cell phones and instant communication, it won't be hard to get everybody notified and let people know where we're going to be needed. We're not part of the Canadian Armed Forces. We're not part of any government offices. We will take their suggestions on where they need help. And if we can, we'll fulfill what we can do. Apart from them, they got, with the 300,000 person army that our PM wants to put up, they're not talking about fighting in a lot of cases with those 300,000. They're traffic control. They're taking care of all the different things that the military needs. There's a lot of logistical things that they need people to do that a uniformed soldier could be better off on the front line, or operating a drone, or driving a tank, or whatever. That's what the 300,000 people are for, the administrative things that are going to need to be done. Something like we're doing with the Canadian Construction Battalion, the CCB, is similar, but we're construction experts. They're not going to have the experts that we have to be able to look at a structure and say, that can't be taken down like that, or it's an unstable situation. They have experts for that, but we'll be the ones that are there to help in recoveries and things like that. The EMS and doctors and things will be there for that, but there's lots of things to do that somebody with a construction mindset can handle, right? The 300,000 that the PM was asking, we're all volunteers as well. But we're not part of them in that. We're the Canadian Construction Battalion. And, in London, we'll try this for a year. We'll see about ironing out the bugs. And then we can go national, I think, with this thing. Every province, every major city in Canada can have this kind of organization. Pie in the sky idea, maybe. But I think it's a great idea, and it's something that's necessary and needed. So let's get on the ball with this thing, folks. Have a look at our website at Team Build Up, and next week when everybody's back around, when I'm calling my domain managers and manager company, I'm getting answering machines. It's just this time of year. So we got a website up and running with all the information called teambuildup.ca. And the Great Canadian Buildup and the Canadian Construction Battalion will have their own website made up, but they'll basically point at each other, excuse me, and that's how it's going to work. So I appreciate you taking out the time on Boxing Day to listen to me ramble here, but I'm really excited about this thing. And it's something that we need to do, and what we're going to do, I decided a couple days ago, was with the Canadian Construction Battalion updates, once a week updates we're going to be doing for the Canadian Construction Battalion. I'm going to include at the end of the podcast a video, one of the videos I have taken of the close to 100 veterans that I got. Some interviews are 5 minutes long, some are 3 hours. I interviewed air aces, colonels that had won the Victoria Cross from the Queen of Holland, fighters and dispatch riders and tankers, and just so many different stories. You know, I didn't get into the battle aspect of it and, you know, the gory things, you know, like what was it like, you know, to be out there and be with your friends and being in a situation where, you know, you're under attack and what happened here or there. I did get some stories like that. I never pushed it. You know, a lot of the guys were uncomfortable with talking about some of the gorier stuff. You know, it happened many times where, you know, I would roll into a town across the country and I'd just go to the local Legion and say, hey, you know, you got any old veterans from World War II or Korea around here? Well, they're all passed away now, I don't know. But there is one guy, Bob, around the corner. You might want to go talk to him. So that's how I did it. I piled my motorcycle and hit my hands on an old RV for the first trip out east. An old 329 engine in it, but I mean, I had it on the floor going up those hills out east. You know, those gradual hills that they had built out there for the replacement of the highways. Nobody else on the highway except me burning up the hill because gas was $1.30 a liter, and that was 10, 15 years ago. Anyways, back to the subject. I'm, you know, with the Canadian Construction Battalion videos, I'm going to put on, I'll play, you know, some of the 1 or 2 of the videos, depending how long they are, or cut them in half over a couple of different visits. But so that'll give you a little something, the idea of what we're fighting for and why we're getting up at 6 a.m. to go help rebuild an apartment building with families standing outside because it's been bombed. So keep that in mind. I hate to end on a downer note like that, but this is it. This is true. I can joke around, and I will joke around and try to keep it light. But this is a really important subject, and it's something that we have to do. You know? Think about it. We have to have a commitment to freedom. We have to have a commitment to freedom. All right. Thank you all for paying attention to me. Like and subscribe, as they say. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the flip side. So have a great night, and we'll catch you later. Woo!